Hello, 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 everybody. It is Tuesday, April 5th. I had to double check on that. Do you guys even science, bro? Okay, so, um, I had a long day today. Really long day. I hope you guys all had a good, long, productive day as well. Let's go ahead and get straight to the nitty gritty of this. Here we got something. What NASA's Dawn saw on Ceres and Vesta stunned me. Let's look at how ridiculous this is. Right off the start. NASA is part of UNUSA, the United Nations of Outer Space Affairs. Okay? They do not represent America. They do not represent freedom or the people. What they represent is some type of scam to manipulate and manipulate information and telecommunications in the order to conquer the space in your mind. Your imagination, the space in your mind that you have reserved for imagination has been captivated. Okay? They say it all the time. They admit it. They want to capture your attention, capture your imagination. They say it all the time. They want to capture your imagination. This space, imaginary space that doesn't exist, that they claim to have conquered, this final frontier. Okay, it represents international waters. It represents international airspace. It represents the free area that's supposed to exist beyond sovereign nations. So let's take a look at this. This whole thing, like, why would they lie? All kinds of, yeah. Look, if they can trick you with the geography of reality, then I mean, you really are just as you'd be dumb. You know what I mean? Think about that. If they could trick you on what reality really is, or not even that, just try to make it seem like they know more about reality than you. You know, like, oh yeah, they got this direct connection to the heavens that you don't because they have these heavenly contraptions. Ridiculous.
2011 was an exciting year for astronomers. For over 200 years, mankind has known about the existence of gigantic asteroids found in the asteroid belt. But for most of that, they've only been specks in the night sky. The fifth?
Oh, you guys hear this? It's gonna be real simple. Right now, what's gonna happen, and he's going to try and tell you what you should imagine when you look into the sky, as opposed to you going out there yourself and just looking, and then without any bias, without any type of of already influenced information that's out there, like specifically mainstream media, or government media, government sponsored media, and whatnot. I mean, it's totally different if when you go out there and you look at it yourself, and then when you imagine government propaganda, you realize, you're like, oh my God, that imagination, that imagery that I just seen in my head as I look through this telescope is not the same image that I'm looking at. Now, for me to sit there and say that the government has better telescope technology than me, or whatever, again, they're like some type of interpreter for some type of celestial force or some type of God. That's the same thing. It's the same thing. All right. That's like I said it over and over. That's like the Christians being told they cannot talk to God. Christians are not allowed to talk to God. They have to talk to Jesus Christ first. Jesus Christ is the one that talks to God for you. All right? The Catholics are the same thing. You cannot talk to God. You can only go and talk to your priest, your local priest, who then moves the prayers forward somehow, and then the Pope is the one that's actually talking to God, not you. All right? Same thing with the Muslims. You do not talk to God. Okay? Muhammad does that for you. And the list goes on and on. You did not talk to numbers. You did not talk to the imaginary numbers that have spirits inside of them. Pythagoras did. Pythagoras was the one that had the direct connection to the number gods. I could go on and on all the way back to Hermes. Okay? You guys did not have a connection to Poimanders, the dragon, the all-known dragon. Okay? You did not. Okay? Hermes did. Okay? If you want to talk to Poimanders, you have to go talk to Hermes. This goes on and on. There's only one exception to all that. It's the Einstein-Spinoza God. The Einstein-Spinoza God. So Einstein's idol, Spinoza, started his own little cult. And it's a cult based off pantheism, off the god Pan, where that god is totally impersonal. That god just doesn't give a crap. The Spinoza-Einstein God, or should I say Einstein-Spinoza God, however you want to say it, that God is neglectful. He is a God, okay? Einstein does believe in a God, guys. He is not an atheist, all right? What Einstein said, Einstein believed in pantheism, all right? So what his God, all right, Einstein's God, does not care. He's neglectful. He's irresponsible. Once that God creates something, he just moves on and lets it do its own chaotic thing. He lets everything fall apart intentionally. We got words like pandemonium, pandemic. All of these, that word pan, think about it. This goes deep, guys. This is deep. These are deep ideologies that affect human behavior. So moving forward, we'll go, like I said, these guys are going to sit there and say they have the direct connection to the knowledge of the skies. And then when they say that, they're going to show some weird cartoons, and they're going to impose and imprint this imagery into your memory bank, which then affects your mind, your mentality. It affects everything you do. When you believe that you're just a speck of nothingness, just like a piece of rock floating in a void of nothingness, which is actually impossible. You guys, because I suggest all of you guys start building some vacuum chambers and start playing around with it, because they're lying about a lot of stuff. It just doesn't make sense.
First asteroid to be discovered, Ceres, was found in 1801 and was added to the list of planets. A year later, Pallas was discovered, and in the following years, Juno and then Vesta. Because of this, in 1845, our solar system had 11 planets. The original 7 from Mercury to Uranus, as Neptune hadn't been discovered yet, plus the 4 asteroids. As more and more asteroids were discovered, it became clear that they couldn't all be listed as planets. A good thing too, as today there are millions of known asteroids of various shapes and sizes.
That's a flat disc, yo! The Globins are so funny, dude. Oh man, it's hilarious. It's so hypocritical of them. Everything that they talk shit on the Flurps about, literally is their own beliefs. From flat discs, floating around in space in a void like a flat pancake, to flat space time. I will, sooner or later we will get to these topics. You guys will learn. You guys will actually do science. Do you even science, bro? We'll learn that is not science. Flat space-time, singularities, event horizons, spaghettification, dark energy, dark matter, flat discs floating around in the void of nothingness. It's ridiculous.
However, before 2011, we had never seen any of the original 4 asteroids up close. Enter the Dawn spacecraft. Launched in 2007, it had a very special mission to explore and investigate not just one, but 2 of these large asteroids. First Vesta, and then Ceres.
Ooh, it's going up into the heavens.
But what did it find and discover while it was there? I'm Alex McColgan and you're watching Astrum. And in this video, we will find out everything Dawn saw and discovered around the asteroids Vesta and Ceres, and examine what made the Dawn spacecraft one of the most technically impressive probes ever produced, and how its success paved the way for NASA missions in production right now.
No, I'm more impressed by Wally at this point.
Let's start with Dawn itself. Its trip to Vesta took 4 years, utilizing a slingshot from Mars's gravity along the way. And you'll be forgiven for not seeing anything special about this trip from this perspective. However, zooming in on the Dawn spacecraft itself reveals its very special feature, an ion engine.
Wow.
Ion engines had been tested already on NASA's Deep Space One. However, the way Dawn utilized it pushed this technology to a whole new level.
Whoa.
Thanks to its ion engine, it was the first ever spacecraft to go into orbit around 2 separate extraterrestrial bodies. You see, while ion thrusters aren't very powerful, they are extremely efficient, and so can remain on for extended periods.
How is it? What is an ion pushing on? See what I'm saying? None of this makes any sense. It's a vacuum, supposedly. Now, like I said, all of you could build a vacuum and put all kinds of stuff in it. Everything that they show, from balloons, from tires on the lunar car, on the lunar lander, you put a balloon or even a tire inside anything, inside a vacuum, it'll pop.
It's a time. Unlike chemical thrusters, which rely on reactions causing heat and pressure to push gas away from the rocket, ion thrusters simply ionize neutral xenon gas with electricity to create acceleration. These ionized gas particles rush out of the engine.
That pushes on the atmosphere here on Earth, okay? Anything that propels itself or moves itself forward is actually using the environment to pull itself forward or to push itself forward. There's no such thing on pushing on nothingness. They claim it's a vacuum of space. Okay? I can stand in front of a vacuum. I know what the fuck a vacuum is. It's that simple. Okay? A vacuum sucks. So if you're trying to thrust into something that's sucking, it doesn't move you. The suction is taking the energy from you. You don't have any energy for momentum to move forward. That energy has been sucked away from you. Now, on top of that, where does that suction go? You guys know what? I'm gonna be totally honest. That whole outer space fairy tale sucks. Literally.
150,000 kilometers per hour, which pushes the spacecraft in the opposite direction.
See, the suction would be right there. It would be
as the ionized gas is expended slowly. Dawn can only create so much electric charge after all. The acceleration is really slow. It would take Dawn 4 days to accelerate from 0 to 100 kilometers per hour. But over extended periods, it really adds up. Dawn was firing its thrusters for 85% of the time during the transit to Mars, expending only 72 kilograms of xenon propellant and gaining over 1.8 kilometers per second velocity. Upon reaching Vesta in July 2011, the images it started returning wowed the science community.
Oh wow.
It really was not what they were expecting. After being captured by Vesta's gravity, Dawn lowered its orbit to get a closer look at this unique asteroid. So, what made Vesta an unexpectedly nice surprise? The first thing you'll notice about Vesta is that it has an unusual shape. It kind of looks like a squashed ball. There are 2 reasons for this. The first is that it is not very big. Yes, these asteroids, although big for asteroids, are pretty tiny on astronomical scales. Vesta is not quite big enough for it to be.
Just like you. You are so tiny. You're smaller than this rock. It's way smaller. You're tiny.
In hydrostatic equilibrium, or in other words, to be rounded by its own gravity, as it is only about 500 kilometers in diameter. This gives it the surface area of Pakistan, about 800,000 square kilometers. You'll see how small it is if you compare it to our moon. Although, it should be noted that even at this size, it still contributes towards 9% of the total mass of the asteroid belt, which can help you appreciate just how dispersed the asteroid belt really is.
Nice selfie,
The second reason for this unusual shape are the two giant impacts it experienced in its past. Estimated to have occurred over 1 billion years ago, Vesta was impacted not once, but twice around its south pole with planetary-scale objects. These impacts produced craters so large, they penetrated all the way to the mantle of the asteroid. The crust has since cooled off and solidified, leaving a complex crater called Rhea Silvia. As these craters have overlapped, Rhea Silvia is the most recent and thus the most prominent crater that remains.
Oh, very interesting.
As is typical with complex craters,
back to
terraced walls can be seen around the edge of the crater, seen in the form of huge troughs around the equator
We need
that put the Grand Canyon to shame in terms of size. Also typical of complex craters, a prominent peak can be found at the center. This peak was once thought to be the tallest mountain in the solar system, but more accurate dawn observations show that the title has returned to Olympus Mons. Although Rhea Silvia is still 20 to 25 kilometers high and over 100 kilometers across. Due to its size compared to the size of Vesta, it appears like a giant pimple around the South Pole, and it is easily visible from orbit. The two collisions that carved out the South Pole of Vesta flung a massive amount of ejecta into space. So much debris ended up in the asteroid belt that the debris has been given its own asteroid spectral type classification, namely Z-type asteroids. Z-type asteroids are thought to have originated from Vesta, and a lot of them can be traced back to those impacts. But these asteroids didn't just end up in the asteroid belt. They are scattered all across the solar system. And in fact, 5% of the meteorites that end up on Earth come from Vesta, known as Howardite, Eucrite, Diogenite meteorites. This is very handy, as we haven't needed a sample return mission to be able to study samples of Vesta, because Vesta has delivered some right to our front door.
Oh, wow. So they went once, they can't go again, and you will never ever go, and you can only depend and trust, depend on trust. You can only trust these people, and you're like, yeah, the government's great. They're floating around in the void of nothingness. Wow, you know what? This is so great because this totally feeds all of humanity. Wrong. Okay, this is so great because it makes everyone richer. Wrong. Okay, this is so great because only a certain percent of the population is going to get a lot of money on this scam. Correct. This is hilarious, guys. All right, this is a scam. That outer space, this is no different than the Catholics running a heavenly scam on its mass. You get it? Pun intended.
Their structure and composition reveal some clues about how Vesta was formed, and the Dawn mission attempted to broaden that understanding. From a combination of all the data collected, it has been revealed that Vesta is very unique in our solar system. It is the only remaining rocky protoplanet, or in other words, it is a planetary embryo that never finished forming. The theory goes that as the solar system was forming, dust from the early
Oh, wow. I think I've seen this before. Oh, yeah, on Marvel. Yeah, on Marvel Comics, right? It's a celestial. It's a baby, right? Right? And the baby's gonna be born, and it cracks out of the planet and takes the energy of all the little smaller beings that helped make it. Right? It looks like a Marvel comic book. Oh, wow. It's one of these Marvel movies, guys. Oh, I thought this was about science.
Planetary disk coalesced into thousands of different planetesimals. These planetesimals collided with each other over time, building up into the large planets we see today. Our moon is thought to have formed from such an impact, with a large planetesimal impacting Earth, called Theia. The debris from the collision coalescing in Earth's orbit and over time rounding under its own gravity to form the moon we know today.
Yeah.
Vesta obviously got started on its way to becoming a planet. It experienced plenty of large impacts with planetesimals.
Right when I'm smoking.
As a result of all these impacts, the heat generated by them meant that at one point Vesta had an active mantle under the surface. Even today, it is believed to still have a core of iron, about 220 kilometers in diameter.
I see.
A core similar to the other.
You guys see? Right there, they're showing you it's the iron core. Apparently it has it. I mean, they just showed it to us.
Terrestrial worlds like Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. However, Vesta's interior...
Honestly, it feels great to be inside these planets right now. And they're babies, right? They're gonna like pop. They're gonna like grow up and come out. These guys are celestial beings. They're like Ego, right? Ego, the god planet. This is totally funny. This is hilarious.
Has since cooled off, meaning the interior has solidified. But because of this differentiated interior, it likely would be called a dwarf planet today, if not for those two collisions we talked about earlier.
It gets stupider.
One of the criteria for a dwarf planet is that it is rounded under its own gravity. But as the collisions happened roughly 1 billion years ago, a few billion years after Vesta formed, Vesta had already cooled off too much for it to be elastic enough to return to a shape in hydrostatic equilibrium. And the reason Vesta...
Wait, okay, so if there's a dwarf planet, right? He just said there's dwarf planets. If there are dwarf planets, are there elf planets? What about wizard planets? God planets. Oh, yeah. Totally one of these Marvel religious type things, you know. Is Thor out there? We're gonna see Thor right now. Hold on.
Never became a planet. Fingers are currently being pointed at Jupiter, which stole mass that would have otherwise formed Vesta, or at least disturbed enough of it to stop Vesta from ever getting going.
The planet god Jupiter.
Now, to the naked eye, Vesta does appear quite bland. This is a true color image of Vesta, appearing as you would see it. However, if you have a camera that can see in a wide variety of wavelengths of light, suddenly Vesta's true variety becomes apparent. In this composite image, the black material is likely ejecta brought by a large meteor impact. The red material is likely also from an impact, but is material that melted before solidifying again.
Likely.
Dawn also made some unexpected discoveries on Vesta's surface. Vesta is thought to be very dry, with little to no volatiles found in its crust. Why then has evidence of past flowing been observed? In this false color image, you can see a crater a couple of kilometers.
Okay, so this false color image is true. That's so funny. They're like, this false color image that's not real is proof.
There's a cross with a flow channel coming out of it. The different colors indicating it consists of a different material to the surrounding area. The exact origin of this...
Look, you guys, pay attention to the hypnotic waves in the background as they're showing these colors and geometric shapes and abstract, basically this abstract art, and with the hypnotic music in the background that supposedly it has a specific... They know, these guys, these social engineers, they know specific sounds that can actually enchant humanity. Straight up. They can enchant humanity, right? And enchant, or how we would say, capture the attention of your auditory senses.
Material is unknown, but perhaps it was brought by the impactor and melted on collision. Another fascinating discovery was found in one of Vesta's young craters, Marcia. Near the bottom of the crater, Dawn observed something called pitted terrain. Why pitted terrain was found on Vesta is a bit of a mystery, as we have only seen it on Mars before that. However, scientists believe hydrated mineral rocks on the surface may have been rapidly heated, perhaps by another impact, releasing the water in the rocks, which exploded as the water degassed into space, leaving these craters you see here.
That's just all crap.
And I would be remiss to mention that this Marcia crater is part of a chain of craters which makes up the famous snowman found on Vesta.
Ah.
What is interesting,
snowman,
though, is if you notice the terrain is relatively smooth.
I wonder. They're gonna say they're gonna be like, this crater is called the Jack Frost crater, and Jack Frost is the new crater where they found evidence of flowing water. Look at this false fake image as proof.
Around these craters. This is believed to be because a blanket of ejecta covered the region from the impacts, smoothing it over. Dawn was only around Vesta for a year before it left Vesta's orbit and moved on to the second leg of its journey towards the actual dwarf planet, Ceres.
Everyone say bye to the angel.
Using its ion engine, it was able to build up speed until it was finally fast enough to escape Vesta's gravity altogether, and then begin its journey towards Ceres.
Oh, nice piano in the background. That piano, I mean, it just smooths everything out, you know. Especially you just smoked a joint, you know what I mean, and drank some coffee and you're watching this, and you hear that piano, and you just got over that last episode where they had that weird sound in the background, like woo, and you're like meditating or whatever. It's no different than like a TV evangelism, you know, when they're praying or some of that new age spirituality crap where they're like, yeah, listen, you can meditate to these sounds, and or even, you know, you could go as far back as to, like, you know, the and then you grab your bell and you're like all of this hypnotic stuff is hilarious. It's funny how they use it so easily to just enchant people.
The anticipation within the scientific community to reach Ceres was palpable. Even with the aid of the Hubble Space Telescope, the best image we had of Ceres was this. It was still a mysterious body. What was lying in wait there? Would Dawn hold up to years in the unforgiving environment of space?
Heavenly body, celestial body, I mean, and then you have this angelic contraption. You see the wings. You see it floating above with wings, and it's looking down upon everything, gathering knowledge, celestial knowledge, heavenly knowledge. Oh my goodness. The sky worshipping shit with NASA is just totally ridiculous. I honestly laugh so hard at all of this. I have a great time smoking weed and relaxing, drinking some coffee and watching this stuff and just laughing at it so much. I mean, honestly, like, this all, like I've said it before, I'll say it again. It reminds me of the Bugs Bunny, Marvin the Martian, comedy skit, you know, cartoon comedy episodes.
And what would Ceres reveal about our own solar system? After 2 years in transit between the two bodies, Dawn finally began the approach to Ceres. As days passed, the resolution of Ceres got better and better. Details like craters could finally be resolved, and most interestingly of all, bright white dots could be seen. I remember at the time that as these images were coming in, speculation was rife about what they could be. As higher resolution images were received, it looked like the bright spots were actually 2 separate spots. And then the increased resolution revealed it was in fact several different spots.
Wow.
Dawn also observed the scarred nature of Ceres up close, with craters littering the surface. Although there aren't as many craters here as previously expected. Taking this into consideration, and the bright spots I already mentioned, it became clear that Ceres is not as inactive and inert as we may have previously thought. Before we delve deeper into that, let's first give you some context.
What was that, like space drugs? It looked like some space cocaine or some space methamphetamine or some type of space powder. Space fentanyl? God damn. You got these, they're totally getting high on this crap.
Ceres is a very unusual body, seemingly out of place in the asteroid belt. Most asteroids are mainly composed of non-volatile substances, mainly rocks and metals. Ceres, on the other hand, has a similar composition to that of a comet. It is, in other words, an icy world. However, being this close to the Sun, any ice directly on the surface sublimates. This means that the surface crust is rocky, yet porous, with water locked into the gaps, with a ratio of about 90% rocks and 10% water. Beneath the surface, there is believed to be a muddy mantle and a large core of hydrated rocks, such as clays, where rock and brine are mixed together.
Those arrows are proof. Okay? If it wasn't for those red arrows, I don't know how I would imagine this. I literally needed for this celestial body, heavenly sphere, to be dissected and pointed at with red laser beams, or is that just a red arrow? I don't know. Is that first of all, is that red? Is that like a laser beam, or is that like a stick? I don't know, but it's so cool, bro. Like, I just looking at it, I'm like, whoa.
At a 50-50 ratio. Although this has been hard to confirm. Other models suggest the core could be a lot drier and smaller.
We can't confirm it, guys.
With a greater ratio of water to be found in the mantle.
I was so
Either
sure
way,
again.
Water is definitely present in Ceres in large quantities, making up perhaps 50% of its total volume due to Ceres' low
Perhaps, or perhaps not.
density. And it's this water that perhaps renews the surface of Ceres, albeit over extremely long timescales. You see, these bright spots are what is known as cryovolcanoes. Unlike regular volcanoes, which spew lava out from the mantle, cryovolcanoes erupt water.
Water volcanoes.
This is a 3D model based on dawn data of the biggest bright spot on Ceres. Water on Ceres is packed full of salt, meaning that when a cryovolcano on Ceres erupts, the water sublimates and the salt is left behind. This was directly observed over the brightest patch on Ceres, known as Spot 5, as a haze was periodically seen over this area, indicating that water there had sublimated. These bright spots darken over time from exposure to the sun through space weathering, so it's likely that many old cryovolcanoes exist on the surface of Ceres, although we can now only see the most active and recent ones. However, the ones we see aren't just limited to the bright spots we've looked at so far. There are many of them dotted around the dwarf planet. Water was discovered in other regions around Ceres too.
Like connected dots?
Due to Ceres' very minimal axial tilt of only 4 degrees, some craters at its poles are in perpetual darkness. The bottom of these craters never see direct sunlight, meaning water ice can exist here without sublimating. This is very similar to our moon, where water ice is thought to have been trapped at the bottom of perpetually dark craters for billions of years.
Whoa, I had to pause it, guys. I got totally hypnotized. Right? I was like spinning. Whoa, bro. Like Astrum, dude. Great job, bro. You're just as stupid as MC2 or FTFE.
What else did Dawn spot on the surface of Ceres? As I mentioned, it saw plenty of craters, each with unique characteristics. Some were very round and defined. Others had scarps along the crater floor. There are plenty of examples of complex craters with tall peaks in the center. There was even evidence of crater rims collapsing. For example, this rock having fallen away from the crater walls. Smaller rocks were also spotted having fallen down crater walls, evidenced by the trails they left behind. I also love these photos taken at an angle, pointed along the limb of the dwarf planet. To me, these give a much better idea of the scale of the features we are looking at.
That is so
Although,
lovely.
without an atmosphere.
That is so lovely. That is very, very, very lovely. It looks like some aluminum foil or maybe just some dirt or some shit like that. And then he's like, there's no atmosphere there. You can't breathe there. And there's like cold salt volcanoes. And then he goes out to say how lovely it is. No, it's not lovely. That whole concept is retarded and very stupid. Why would I think that is lovely? That looks like barren nothingness. Barren nothingness is not lovely. A void is not lovely. All of this is not lovely. Okay? Get that shit straight, Astrum. I'm gonna dislike your shit, bruh.
To provide a sense of depth, it is hard to judge sizes in images like these. Fractures were also spotted all over Ceres, indicating there have been stresses in the crust. Some of them are relatively young, perhaps only a few 100 million years old. Some of them come in the form of grooves and troughs, where the crust has been stretched, and other fractures can be seen in the form of rows of mountains, where the crust has been compressed. One particularly unusual feature was spotted on Ceres, called Ahuna Mons. It's a mountain about 20 kilometers wide and 5 kilometers high. But what's unusual about it is how it just sticks up from the surrounding area with no apparent cause. It would be less unusual if there were other features like this on Ceres, because then it could be said it's a global phenomenon. But it's the only thing like it on the entire world. The best bet we currently have is that it is an old cryovolcano, formed because of a large impact directly on the other side of the dwarf planet.
Red lines again.
Seismic waves from a large impact can propagate through the crust of a planet, and where the waves meet again on the opposite side is known as the antipode.
Really annoying.
Known antipodal regions around the solar system tend to have some kind of weird terrain, like that found on Mercury. Ahuna Mons could fit this description, with seismic waves from an impact on the opposite side of Ceres triggering volcanic activity here. If it is a cryovolcano, it actually has some analogues around the solar system. It would be classified as a dome volcano, similar to Mount St. Helens, or to some domes seen on Mars. In 2018, Dawn concluded its mission, having been a tremendous success. It finally ran out of propellant, which meant it can no longer stay pointed at Earth to send back data or receive commands. It's been left in a stable, derelict orbit around Ceres, a monument in space that will remain there for at least another 20 years. Dawn's discoveries and data will be at the heart of asteroid research for many years yet.
Lovely in my heart.
It also leaves behind another legacy. Its ion engines were the key to its success, and there are now many other missions that currently use them. SpaceX's Starlink satellites have ion thrusters on board, as well as China's Tiangong space station. ESA's Bepi-Colombo mission will be using them to get to Mercury, and NASA's DART mission is using them to get to the binary asteroid system Didymos and Dimorphos. If you want to know more about that, in my opinion, intriguing mission, check out my video I made about it here. Thanks for watching. Want to help pick the next Supercut video? Go.
Oh, sorry guys, that was just too stupid. Bam! Get the fuck out of my face with that shit. That was just too stupid, guys. I have no reason to believe any of that shit. And they're just saying, so they make these weird heavenly contraptions that you don't control, you have no direct connection to, only they do. And then they sacrifice them, throw them in, and then it's so lovely. And oh man, this sky worshipping nonsense. Alright? This is sky worshipping nonsense. Alright? Do you guys even science, bro?